What is the ultimate punishment you can give to an arrogant neighbor trying to steal your land, showing them a legal land survey and watching them lose half of their own house? The internet is full of people who get a tiny ounce of authority and suddenly think they are the rulers of the universe. They go on massive power trips and love making other people's lives miserable. Welcome to QuReX Stories. Today, we are diving deep into Reddit to bring you the incredibly satisfying downfalls of people who tried to use the rules to crush others, only to get crushed by those exact same rules. If you're ready, let's start with a neighborhood turf war that ended in total destruction. First story, the HOA president. I bought a beautiful detached house with a large backyard. My neighbor on the left, Rick, also happened to be the president of the neighborhood HOA. Rick was a control freak, the kind of guy who would literally measure your grass with a ruler and fine you. I paid out of pocket to have a wooden fence built right along my property line. The next morning, Rick started banging on my door. He yelled, "That fence you just built crosses exactly 4 inches into my property. If you don't tear it down in 24 hours, I will fine you $500 a day." I didn't back down. I hired the best, most expensive professional land surveyors in the city. 3 days later, I got the report, and I couldn't believe my eyes. The fence wasn't on Rick's property at all. In fact, it was 3 feet inside my own property line. But that wasn't the bombshell. According to the survey, Rick's massive 2-car garage, his driveway, and half of his expensive custom swimming pool were built completely on my land. I served Rick with a formal legal notice. I demanded that he immediately demolish his garage and his pool. When he got the notice, all the color drained from his face. He came to my door, literally crying, "Please don't do this, I'll go bankrupt." I just smiled and repeated his exact words. "Rules are rules, Rick. You have 24 hours. The result? A court ordered him to demolish the garage and the pool. He had to pay me $50,000 in damages, and he was forced to move away. Second story, the boss's doctor note. What an incredible backfire, right? Now, the story of a micromanager who left his own company in total crisis. I was working in the shipping and logistics department, carrying the entire workload for the company's busiest season. One morning, I woke up with a terrible fever. I called my controlling manager, Greg. Greg started screaming, "Company policy states you must prove you are sick. If you don't bring me a signed doctor's note today, I will fire you on the spot." Fine. I dragged myself to the ER and waited in line for 2 hours. Finally, the doctor saw me. He asked, "This is just a severe viral infection. Why are you here instead of resting in bed?" I explained that my boss was forcing me to get a note, or I would be fired. The doctor got visibly angry. "So, your boss wants to override my medical expertise. All right, let me show him my expertise." He grabbed his pen. He didn't write me a note for one day. He wrote me a mandatory, strict medical leave for exactly 14 days. I emailed it to Greg and wrote, "Here is the note you demanded. See you in 2 weeks." That day was the start of peak shipping season, and nobody else knew how to do my job. Greg called me a dozen times, begging me to come in, but he couldn't legally override a doctor's mandate. While I stayed home, resting with full pay, Greg had to answer to corporate for the entire disaster. Third story, the stolen parking spot. And for today's grand finale, the moment when entitled people hit a brick wall of justice. I live in a large apartment complex. We have reserved parking spots that each tenant pays an extra $100 a month for. For the past week, every time I came home, there was a luxury black BMW parked in my spot. I left polite notes. On the 4th day, I found my note torn up in front of my door. Someone had written, "I live in the penthouse. I'm not leaving my car on the street. Go park somewhere else and stop crying." That was it. That evening, the BMW was there again. I didn't leave a note. I called the tow company. Just as they were chaining up the car, the guy from the penthouse came sprinting out screaming, what are you doing? Put it down right now. He called the cops. When the officer arrived, I simply pulled my lease agreement out of my pocket. I proved the spot was mine. The officer turned back to the guy and said, "Sir, your vehicle is being legally towed for trespassing, and I have to write you a citation for making false accusations." Watching his luxury car disappear into the dark. That silence was the most beautiful symphony I have ever heard. It cost him $500 to get his car back, plus the police ticket. From that day on, he parked in the furthest, darkest corner of the street. Arrogance is a trap that blinds you until you fall right into it. Would you have forced that neighbor to destroy his expensive pool and rate that doctor out of 10 for handing out a 14-day vacation? Let's talk about it in the comments. If you love seeing justice served, click the video on your screen right now. Don't forget to subscribe to QuReX Stories. See you in the next epic revenge.